Hello, everyone, and welcome back to your Passionate Vet Student podcast. I'm Margot, and today we are with Jade.
Hi.
And Yana.
Hi.
So, as we know, antibiotics revolutionized medicine for humans and animals. But today, their effectiveness is under threat. Bacteria are mutating and resistance is spreading fast. In this episode, as you guessed, we are going to explore how antimicrobial resistance is shaping veterinary medicine and what it means for the future of animals and human vets. Let's start with a bit of contextualization. So, first, what is an antibiotic?
It's a substance that can kill bacteria or inhibit their growth. I think most by targeting essential bacterial structures or functions such as cell wall, protein synthesis, or DNA replication.
So yes, originally antibiotics were natural compounds, but today many are semi-synthetic or fully synthetic, designed and optimized by laboratory to be more effective and safer. Antibiotics come in many forms: tablets, injection, cream, or even spray, depending on the type of infection and the species being treated. So the history of antibiotics began in 1910 with the deployment of salvarsan, a synthetic arsenic compound used to treat syphilis. Now it's banned due to its toxicity. But after that, in 1928, Alexander Fleming discovered penicillin that allowed for the first time doctors to effectively treat deadly bacterial infections such as pneumonia, meningitis, and sepsis. This breakthrough opens what scientists call the golden age of antibiotic discovery, which was a period that reached its peak in the 1950s. During these years, many new antibiotics families were identified, such as tetracycline, macrolides, and aminoglycosides. According to the Journal of Antibiotics, published by Nature in 2017, this revolution in medicine increased the average of human lifespans by a lot of years. Do you have an idea of this number?
Maybe 10 years?
Isn't this a lot? I don't know. I would say more like 5 years. It's not.
Actually, it's about 23.
What?
Yeah, the lifespan's raised about in the average for human 23 years.
Whoa.
So it's a huge discovery for us and in the medicine.
Ginormous.
I thought that I was very huge with them, but whoa!
Yeah,
You were actually the
closest.
Yes, why?
So in the animal world, antibiotics started to being used widely in the 1940s, not only to treat infections, but also to promote growth and prevent disease in livestock. Indeed, a UK Parliament research briefing released from 2 years ago estimated that around 73% of all antimicrobial salts globally are used in animal production industry, so the main majority of it. So these discoveries and practices have transformed both human and veterinary medicine, saving life, improving animal welfare, and boosting productivity. But as underlined by the World Health Organization, this extensive use has also paved the way for one of the greatest health challenges of our time, antimicrobial resistance, which is defined by resistance to antibiotics, antiviral, antifungals, and antiparasitic drugs. This threat is now ranked among the top 10 global public health risks, as confirmed in 2023 by a study in the Journal of Veterinary Pharmacology and Therapeutics. So now that we all understand the importance of this topic, let's focus more on the antibiotic resistance. What is that?
I would say that antibiotic resistance is the ability of a bacteria to survive or grow despite exposure to an antibiotic. And it means that the antibiotic becomes less effective or completely ineffective against the bacteria. And I think bacteria can become resistant through different mechanisms, like genetic mutations or horizontal gene transfer.
Oh.
There is also the acquisition of plasmid carrying multiple resistant genes.
Yeah, that's actually horizontal transfer mechanism, I think. I thought it was the same thing because horizontal gene transfer is like an exchange of DNA between two bacteria, because plasmid is like a DNA.
Yeah,
friend.
but I've noted it differently, like two different type of things. Maybe in my mind it was like only genes, and plasmid is a little bit different. But yeah, it's quite the same idea.
Yeah, because I thought in horizontal gene transfers there's like
Different
three
types.
mechanisms.
Yeah,
like
conjugation, transformation, and transduction.
Yeah,
and it's a transition.
Yeah,
isn't it a conjugation?
If it's what?
A transfer
for the
of plasmid. Because
it goes it conjugates with the
with another bacteria.
Okay,
yes.
Okay, so
Through the
let's say
sexual organs of the bacteria.
So it's part of the horizontal transfer. Yeah. Okay.
So you did summarize it very well. And I have another question about this topic.
Okay.
Do you know which pathologies are the most impacted by antibiotic resistance in the veterinary health?
Maybe the respiratory diseases, like maybe like for porks, the swine pneumonia, or I think for cows, like for bovine, the bovine respiratory disease complex. Maybe things like antibiotic infection, skin and soft tissue infection. Do you have others?
Maybe like simple things like urinary infection with Escherichia coli or salmonellose.
And there is the mastitis in dairy cows too.
Yeah. Everything by a bacteria.
Bacteria, yes.
Yeah, the main one are mostly respiratory infections. Mastitis in cows is a real problem. Urinary tract infections and intestinal disease in both pet and farm animals are quite very common. And according to the World Organization for Animal Health, resistant bacteria such as Escherichia coli, as you said, Salmonella, and Staphylococcus aureus are among the most common cause of failure treatment for animals. So, as we can see, this issue is widely spread in veterinary practice and it has severe consequences for animals. When a treatment stops working, animals suffer longer, infections spread faster, and mortality rate increases. For farmers, this means lower productivity, higher veterinary costs, and serious financial losses. According to the World Organization for Animal Health, resistant bacteria is spreading between animals and the environment could threaten food security for more than 2 billion people by 2050 and increase global healthcare costs by around $159 billion a year. So this is a huge problem.
Quite expensive, yeah.
Yeah, and the problem doesn't stop here, right, girls?
Yeah, there is also the fact that it goes far beyond the direct impact on animals. For example, we have impact on human health. The resistant bacteria can spread from animals to human through direct contact, food, or environment. We have the economic impact, maybe, like treatment failures, more expensive drugs, a reduce of productivity, and trade restriction that create major financial losses. That's what I have for now. Maybe
nothing to add. I had the same idea.
I may have some others if you want. May for maybe the modern medicine at risk, procedures like surgery, intensive cares, depends on effective antibiotics, and losing them will increase the risk of complication. We also have the environmental consequences with the fact that antibiotics and resistant genes can contaminate water, soils, wildlife, and maybe disturbing animals' natural microbial ecosystems. And if we go in that way, there is also the animal welfare. So if the antibiotics fades, the animal will suffer longer and have some infections become untreatable. I think now it's all right that I have.
Yeah, that's interesting. And you're right. In the end, antibiotic resistance threats not only animal well-being, but the entire balance between animals, humans, and the environment with the ecosystem. The World Health Organization, we are going to cite it a lot during this episode because it's the reference for a lot of things. And in a report published in 2019, antibiotic resistant infection directly cause 1.27 million deaths and contribute to nearly 5 million deaths worldwide. So this is a huge thing. And all of this shows that antibiotic resistance isn't just a veterinary or medical issue, it's a global health problem right at the heart of the One Health concept. So a big question remains: how does our society face this challenge? Well, awareness started decades ago. In 1969, the official warning came in the Swan Report in the UK, linking antibiotic use in animal to human health risks. Since then, strict regulations have been introduced, and in Europe, the latest major step was the EU Regulation 2019/6, which took effect in 2022, setting a clear rule prescription, traceability, and responsible use. Do you girls know some aspects to this regulation?
I think I do, actually. I think it's this regulation that completely reshape how we use antibiotics in medicine across Europe. The main point of this regulation is to protect both animal and human health by reducing any unnecessary or irresponsible use of antibiotic. For example, one of the major changes is that antibiotics can no longer be used routinely for prevention, in groups of animals, and prophylactic use is now only allowed in very specific and exceptional situations.
Yes, this type of justified cases is, for example, when there is a high risk of infection and no practical alternatives such as surgery in a contaminated environment, or to protect a group of animals after an exposure to a highly contagious pathogen. So this is the few exceptions that's where we accept indeed.
Yes, exactly. And also, I remembered from this regulation that it's now forbidden to use antibiotics to promote growth or make animals gain weight faster.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Also, the regulation made prescription much stricter. Veterinarians, now have to properly justify the antibiotic they choose based on clinical evaluation, diagnostics, and the real needs of the animal.
And in addition, all farm and veterinary practices in the Europe must keep detailed treatment records, which is a legal requirement under Article 108 of this regulation. So these records must include the name of the antibiotic, the dose, route, and duration of the treatment, the identification of the treated animals, and the withdrawal periods for food-producing species. This measure ensures, as we said, traceability to support European surveillance of veterinary antimicrobial consumption database coordinated by the European Medicine Agency. And do you know some other measures that are recommended except the legislation parts?
Maybe the use of antibiotic only when it's necessary and after a proper diagnosis. To perform antibiograms whenever it's possible, and improve biosecurity, hygiene, and vaccination programs. Maybe do things like educate veterinarians, farmers, and pet owners, and implement the One Health approach to coordinate human, animal, and environmental sectors.
Oh.
Yeah, I agree. Like the vaccination and hygienization side. And of course, the education is very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so basically, as you said, Ariana, base our treatment on diagnostic confirmation with, for example, the performation of biological culture and antimicrobial susceptibility testing is very important before starting therapy, but in real life, this ideal approach isn't always possible right away because of cost, time, and practical constraints.
Yeah.
And it often leads the veterinarian to start with a broad or empirical treatment based on clinical science and experience. And also, we will prefer narrow spectrum antibiotics. The main principle is to use the narrowest effective antibiotic because broad spectrum or critically important antibiotics should be preserved and reserved for last resort solutions when no other options exist. And of course, it can seem very logical, but it's a very important thing. Use the right route and dosage.
Yeah.
So, as a general rule, I don't know if you heard that, but veterinarians follow the principle of as short as possible, as long as necessary when we talk about antibiotics. What does it mean for you?
Well, I never heard it, but from just the sentence phrase, we can deduct that we only need antibiotics when needed, and we give the minimum effective duration, but never shorter than what is necessary to properly cure the infection.
Yeah, and I think the goal is to reduce selective pressure while still ensuring complete therapeutic success.
Yeah, and basically in the past, antibiotic treatments often last 10 to 15 days as a general rule to ensure full recovery and prevent relapse. But today, most guidelines, including those from the World Organization for Animal Health and the European Medicines Agency, recommend shorter targeted durations adapted to the infection and the animal's response. So for many common infections, 3 to 7 days are now considered sufficient, providing the animal shows clinical improvement. And longer course around 10 to 15 days are reserved for chronic, deep, or systemic infection. So shorter treatments reduce the risk of resistance, lower drugs residues in food-producing animals, and limit costs without compromising effectiveness when it's used correctly. If not, and the treatment is stopped too early, for example, the infection may not be fully eliminated. So some bacteria could survive, start multiplying again, and becoming more resistant to the same drug. So that's why the balance is essential. In countries like Netherlands and Denmark, implementing preventive strategies has helped reduce veterinary antibiotic use by more than 60% over the past decades without affecting animal health or productivity. What do you think are the preventive guidelines to avoid the use of antibiotic?
Maybe strengthening biosecurity on farms, implementing vaccination programs, improving nutrition and reducing stress, ensuring proper housing condition and animal welfare.
Yeah. Yeah, and we talked about it before, but also everything that touches to the hygiene and sanitation, like clean housing,
Yeah.
proper disinfection, good ventilation, is very important to prevent
maybe detect and isolate the sick animals.
Yeah, the main four things you have said it was improving security and hygiene on farm mostly, using vaccination to reduce disease incidents, ensuring good nutrition and housing conditions, and promoting regular veterinary checkups and early disease detection.
Yeah.
So we have seen how responsible use, prevention, and regulation can help limit antibiotic resistance. But to truly overcome this problem, we also need innovation, new tool, new idea, and discovery. So that brings us to another key question. What is done in research?
There's actually a lot happening in research to fight antibiotic resistance. For example, scientists are trying to develop completely new treatments like phage therapy, where viruses that specifically target bacteria are used as an alternative to classical antibiotics. There's also antimicrobial peptides, which are natural molecules, capable of killing bacteria.
Yeah. I've seen that there is also some rapid diagnostic, and researchers are using Raman spectroscopy and deep learning to quickly identify pathogenic bacteria and even detect antibiotic resistance marker without needing to culture them. And we have my favorite one, the machine learning for resistant prediction. And this is due in skin and soft tissue infection. The machine learning models have been trained on clinical and lab data with antibiotic susceptibility testing. And it is to predict whether bacteria will be resistant or potentially helping clinicians to choose better treatments.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And there's also like citizen science project like Micromundo, originated by the US project Tiny Earth. It's a project we participated in with Margot last year. And in this project, students and citizens analyze soil sample to find microorganisms that naturally produces antibiotics. It's a way to discover new antibiotic-producing bacteria, but also to raise awareness among the public. It really shows that everyone can be part of the solution, not just scientists in a lab.
Yeah, I think it's a great message. And as you both said, a lot is being done in research, whether it's like with citizen action or in the scientific side with professional. So scientists are exploring new molecules, as you said, but also alternative solutions like bacteriophages, probiotics, and vaccine to reduce the needs of antibiotics. And beyond new drugs, international programs are investing in surveillance network and data sharing to better track resistance and guide smarter treatments. Beyond science and regulation, there is another key aspect we often forget: the way the public perceive antibiotics and how this perception shapes their use. According to the World Organization for Animal Health, lack of awareness among animals owners remains one of the biggest barriers to responsible antimicrobial use. But why does public perception matter so much, in your opinion?
If the public doesn't understand resistance well, they might demand antibiotics inappropriately, or for viral infection, or just in case, or not complete their courses, which fuels resistance. Public opinion also influences political will for regulation, surveillance funding, and stewardship programs.
Yeah, you're right. And some people can keep leftover antibiotics for later use or share them between animals if they think it's the same issue that they have. So all behavior that seems minor like that are silently fueled resistance. And do you think people not there are enough educated on the topic to stay on the same idea?
Honestly, no, I don't think people are educated enough because most people stop treatment too early or don't understand or don't even know what antiviral resistance is, and they buy meat without thinking about antibiotic use or believe resistance happen in the human body and not in the bacteria. But awareness is improving, but there's still like misinformations.
Yeah, education campaign exists, but the level of understanding maybe remains limited in many countries.
Yeah, actually, there is a survey that has been done in 2015 among nearly 10,000 people across 12 countries. And it revealed that around 64% of respondents believed antibiotic could be used to treat cold and flu, for example, even though these infections are viral. So we can see these beliefs shapes the way people use antibiotics and follow medical recommendation because they don't necessarily understand what we are talking about. And so changing mindsets requires education, patience, and clear communication from health professionals. And that's where veterinarians play a key role, taking time to explain to the owner the importance of completing the full treatment, raising awareness about how vaccination, hygiene, and proper nutrition can prevent most infections. All of that are essential steps in facing the challenge of antibiotic resistance. Other alternatives, such as public campaign, as you said, Diana, education program, and community outreach, can make a huge difference in raising awareness about responsible antibiotic use. And education shouldn't be limited to veterinary clinic or medical cabinets. This message should be put into everyday lives through social media campaigns, informative posters in veterinary practices, awareness day on a farm, for example, or interactive workshops in schools. And these initiatives can help training future veterinarians and educate the general public about what antibiotic resistance really means and how small daily actions such as following prescription, maintaining good hygiene, or avoiding self-medication can have a major impact on global health. So thank you so much for joining this deep conversation on antibiotic resistance and its collective responsibility. If you like this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it. And let's see each other for a new episode next month.
Bye.